Hey my friends, Andrew at Microphonic Designs here with another episode of sound design from scratch to patch in Omnisphere. Today we are putting together a bass drop that we are going to name the JD Deep Drop based off of the initial waveform that we used to actually create the sound. Let's get a quick preview. Yeah, so bass drops have certainly been done a million different ways. I always do my best to make them as interesting as possible. And in this case, we've got an interesting tail at the end of the drop there. So without further ado, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button, and we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to do some bass drops today. And bass drops are actually not that difficult once you know sort of how to target the correct parameter in Omnisphere. So let's start to get this set up, and we're probably going to come back to the waveform later on. But the first thing that we want to look at, or at least that I want to look at right now to come up with some sort of drop, is the envelope. Now the amp envelope, we'll look at this later. I've got some ideas with that we might touch on. But we're going to draw in a mod envelope, the first mod envelope. We'll draw this in and see where it gets us to start. So we'll just kind of go along with this curve and we'll adjust it because I already know that this first point is going to be way too high. I think it maxes out at 4,800 cents, which is 4 octaves, which is insane. That's a long drop. So let's go into the modulation matrix and target the coarse pitch. So basically, we're going to take mod envelope 1, and we are going to target, let's see, here it is. It's in Oscillator, and then it's pitch coarse. So this is basically going to take the shape from mod envelope 1 and it's going to control the pitch. Now when I first started trying to figure out how to do this sort of effect, I remember trying to figure out how to modulate this here, where you can actually use the pitch wheel on your MIDI controller. That's what this is for primarily, is how far you can use the pitch wheel to bend up or down. But that's not what we're doing here. In any case, we modulated the pitch with mod envelope 1, so you'll hear that pitch drop, right? Let's look at the mod envelope again. So this will tell us how many cents, 4,800. That's a lot. And it looks like they may have fixed this. Because in times past when I've done this, it would cap out at 4,800 around half. So this is really nice. This seems to have been either an update or a change that went in recently. Unless I'm crazy, someone might be able to correct me. So in any case, I definitely don't want it dropping 4 octaves, maybe 2, which would be 2,400. Let's see, right there. But this isn't really bass drop like, right? So we've got to develop the oscillator sound a little bit so that it's got some real nice heft to it. And then we're also going to fix the shape of this. So I would sort of consider a bass drop to be more this shape where it, and I don't want it to loop, where it holds out and then it drops. And this sort of depends on exactly what sort of or what kind of bass drop you're going for. I definitely prefer mine to hold at that top pitch a little bit longer and then it drops. So let's go into the oscillator and take a look at this. Let's see. Before I even turn that on, I'm pretty sure I want more of a square shape for this. So let's see. Fat square. There we go. That's a little better. And let's see, let's go back to this envelope. So the envelope is how I want it, but I don't think the modulation is. So what I want it to do is actually, and so right now what we have is the pitch is starting 2 octaves above what note I'm holding down. So like I'm holding down middle C, and it's dropping to that versus and and going into one of those lower octaves. So let's pull this down. So now it's going to start not where I want. Okay. Let's see. 24. Can we get it to 2400 cents? Hopefully we can. Yes, we can. There we go. Good old shift key. That's more or less what we want. And we may be able to do away with this transposition here. There we go. That's a little better. So with that, it's a little tricky to sort of visualize what the envelope, like where the envelope is starting, but that's where it's key to just use your ears to see where everything is starting. And so again, before we'd moved the target slider here, it was starting at a higher octave than I'd wanted. So I want it to start on the note that I hold down and then go down an octave. That's sort of how I like to program bass drops when I do them. So now we can go in, and I'm fairly happy with this waveform as well. And I'm playing around right now. So maybe we could also target the shape with maybe LFO 2, or I'm sorry, mod envelope 2. And we will copy the preset from this envelope copy, and we're going to paste to mod 2. And what I want to do with this is actually bring it up, and you'll see why here in just a second. So now we're going to go into the modulation matrix again, and we're actually going to target the shape slider here. So we're not going to do it from the mod matrix page. My apologies, I lied. We're going to modulate with mod envelope 2. And we're going to set this up so that mod envelope 2 basically takes the shape slider all the way from the right and goes to the left. And of course we don't want it to loop. We'll have it sync. And do we want it to go that steep? That's a little better. That's a little better. So let's go in and add some unison to this now. A little much. And let's modulate this as well with mod envelope 2. And I'm just sort of doing these on the fly, like not thinking about it totally hard. You know, as I'm seeing these different parameters that might sound cool if they have some motion, right? So with this, we're going to start, the sound is going to start with a real wide spread, and then as it hits that lower octave, the sound sort of focuses in the center. Ah, that's kind of cool. I just wish it had more of an impact, right, when it hits that low octave. Now, luckily, there's ways we can go about filling that in, and my project is at 116 beats per minute right now, which is fine. We could go in here and add a sine wave to layer B, and then if we look at the envelopes for layer A, we might want to line these up so that it's a 2-count drop. So there we go. We'll line that up. Amp is up, filter is up, and then we'll just need to line this up as well. So we've not touched the amp or the filter envelopes at all with this sound effect. Usually those are the go-tos to start with. But with this, we're really focusing on modulating different parameters of the oscillator, you know, and the different effects we can put on them, and then the pitch. So with this, we could probably bring in a sine wave and have this come in on that third count. So we'll just lock these in place real quick, and then we'll do kind of like this with the sine wave. Maybe we don't want it to come in all the way, but we'll just do one of these, something like this. Oh, I gotta turn it on. Oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Here we go. So we'll need to fix this up for sure, and I want to tighten this up as tight as we can. What does curve 2 look like? Yeah, real tight. And then we'll bring this in a little more. We'll have it drop off kind of like that, and then we need to come in here and drop that octave. Not much going on. Sine waves can be a little quiet. There we go. And we'll just go ahead and pull that amp envelope all the way up. Max volume. But that's a little though. That's a little better though, right? So we don't want it to be overbearing to the actual core sound, right? So what I'm looking for right now is just sort of, again, another way to make this interesting. And we could probably even add like an impact layer here. So we could go into these sound source browser, sound effects and noise. Actually, we might want one shots maybe. Big boomers. Is this what we want? Deep tones maybe. That's kind of cool. Let's load that in. And but it definitely needs something here. But what? Not unison. Let's focus on just this C layer for a second. So maybe we'll pull this down another octave. And do we pull a filter in? Maybe. That could be kind of cool. We get the filter to end on 3. We slow it down a bit. That kind of mimics the drop a little bit in layer A. So here's something I think we might be able to do. Let's oscillate the amplitude of layer A with an LFO. And I want it to kick in pretty late. And I want it to be pretty fast. So we're going to go for sort of a chopper effect after the hit lands. And we need this to be on notes. And I want this to be a reverse saw. And the rate needs to be up pretty far. That's pretty cool. All right, so let's pull this back just a bit. See where maybe half gets us. Maybe a little more, maybe 0.75-ish. And I want the tail to last a little bit as well. I don't want it to just drop off like that. So we'll pull it out a ways. Maybe 2 counts. Sync this up. There we go. Okay, let's try this. I like that. But I want this to be more like that. And then the whole thing is a little quiet to me. Maybe it's because I pulled that back. Okay. And with this, I want it to be kind of like that. I don't like the tail of that amp though. Let's see. Maybe I do have it kind of like this. Pull it out a little further. I wish we could add a point in the, the actual release there. There we go. Now once we put some effects on that, I think it might be pretty sweet. So let's go in here to Reverb, Proverb, And we're going to do the thing that I like to do a whole lot, which is modulate the auxiliary send. We're going to do that with probably mod envelope 3, because I want it to send as the as the LFO kicks in with the wub-wubs. That's when I want that reverb to send. So let me lock those points in place. And let's see, I don't want it to loop. Do one of these, pull this up, pull that tail down. And this is synced up. So let's see. Mod 1. So we'll probably have that reverb start to send around count 4. Yeah, right, kind of like this, I think. Maybe something like this. But now we need to actually go in and modulate that. So auxiliary send, modulate with envelope. Should be envelope 3, yep. And then we're going to have it go all the way. Well, most of the way. There we go. But it just gets a whole lot louder. That's you know, that's always a difficult thing to sort of deal with here. So let's see. How do we do this? First of all, reverb needs to be a little bigger, a little bit more in the mix, and that time needs to be pulled out a little bit. Like, that's pretty sweet, but this needs to change a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And then we could also do... What else is in here? I mean, I've used BPM delay and proverb just a whole hell of a lot. What about retroplex? What is this all about? That's pretty sweet. Although I'm going to pull the mix back a little bit so that there's not too much of either of these. I can dig. And there we go. I'll call that good. So yeah, definitely an interesting take on a bass drop. Again, there's a billion different ways to do these, and I know a lot of folks will just go with the classic sine wave. Again, nothing wrong with that, but I always like to challenge myself and, you know, and try to see, okay, what can I do with this? You know, what am I going to do today to make this bass drop as interesting as it can be? Because especially in the marching band realm, where I dwell quite often, they tend to be way overdone, and I always, again, if I'm going to do it, I limit myself to maybe 1 or 2 per production, and that's just so that it doesn't get overdone, because it has certainly been overdone in years past. But also, how can I make this particular one memorable? And with something like this, you know, I might program it to not have too much of the wobble, right? Maybe something kind of like that. But this is a neat preset, I think, and we could of course program the like, if we go back into the envelopes, we could program the drop shape to be a little bit different. We could extend it out to be a longer drop. We could go back to this shape and just kind of have it be more of an actual impact drop instead of a drop leading to an impact. And I'm going to undo that real quick. Undo, there we go. There we go. So this type of drop to me would be leading to an impact versus when you do the opposite shape. So when you kind of have it like a skateboard quarter pipe, that's more of like at an actual impact. So that's usually how I try to do my drop. So if I'm going to do a drop leading to an impact, I'll have it hold that top note a little bit longer, and if I have it hit on an impact, usually it'll be a little shorter, and it'll immediately drop the pitch like quite quickly. So real quick, let me name this, and I'll be right back with you. All right, so here I have the drop we just programmed named. This is JD Deep Drop, named after the initial waveform, the JD 800 Fat Square. I'm terrible at the names, so I do my best with them. Oftentimes I find myself naming them after, you know, some of the sound sources that were used, you know, in the creation of the sound. So there we have it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and taking some time out of your day to design a sound with me as we put together the JD Deep Drop 2-count bass drop with a nice attack and some interesting reverb in the tail there. If you haven't just yet, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and be sure to join me next time as well. I've got plenty more to come. And I am just, I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. Having a solid series going with some sounds that hopefully are interesting to you guys out there. And, you know, I'm always watching videos and trying to learn new techniques myself. So, you know, I'll be implementing that stuff in with my sounds as I go forward because, you know, I'm also a student as well. You know, I'm doing these videos to not only put some fun stuff out there, but also to look back and learn from it myself. So thanks so much once again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.